We design, develop, and manufacture our machine in Silicon Valley, California. I've been in the US for 35 years. I started the company. We are a profitable company and have no outside debt. And we sell our machines and service our machines globally. Here in the Maldives, we have Hospitality Depot as our exclusive distributor for sales, service, and support. We sell to many of the major hotel brands and hospitality brands around the world, everybody who wants to be environmentally friendly. We also have many corporate companies. OSG up in the top left there is using these machines on their ocean-going vessels to prevent them from dumping the waste food on the ocean. The US Army is our largest customer in the US. We have many of the premier restaurants, healthcare and medical facilities in. So let's talk about what we're currently doing with our waste food. We start out with our waste food and we end up putting it in a bucket and we end up getting someone to push that bucket outside and we dump it outside into some trash bin. Now here in the Maldives, most of the resorts have got refrigerated containers, but that still doesn't keep out the smells and still doesn't keep out the flies. And then we're going to pay some money to somebody to take that stuff away. Now, I know in the Maldives we don't use many trucks, but you get the same idea. This is a US presentation. We're using a donny to take it away somewhere. And if we're doing things properly, we're kind of dumping that onto a landfill. Not everyone's dumping it onto Tilafushi, I know that, which is even worse. So what's wrong with this? So we end up with smells in our kitchen, we end up with smells outside the back of the house, we end up with smells in our refrigerated room. It's very inefficient. We're moving all this trash around that shouldn't be moved around. We've got people who may be injured in the process of it, and we're paying lots of money to get rid of this stuff, and the costs are permanently increasing. I don't think that many of the donies go on fire, but it's quite common in the US to have these trucks go on fire because simply once you get all this waste into a truck, it heats up and then the truck goes on fire and it never actually makes it to the landfill. But the big thing that we need to be addressing is our carbon footprint. When you bury waste food onto a landfill, it's going to degrade into methane, which is 84 times worse for the atmosphere than CO2. This creates a huge problem for the environment. And if we are putting 500 kilograms a day onto a landfill, we're generating 750 tons of CO2 equivalent a year. And so people say, okay, what's that? Does that mean anything? I don't think that means very much to many people. But if I want to offset that waste, I can put in some solar panels. I need 4,000 square meters of solar panels to offset that amount of carbon generated by dumping my waste food on a landfill. That puts things into perspective. A lot of people, there are some resorts who are adding solar panels, and this is wonderful. It's all to be applauded. But if you're dumping the stuff onto the landfill, or doing worse than that, you need to get it into perspective of your carbon footprint. You're reducing your carbon footprint by putting solar panels in. This is a big impact. And this is a statistic that many people just can't get into their heads. We should improve the cost, we should improve the fuel efficiency of vehicles. But that 500 kilograms of waste food going onto a landfill is equivalent to a regular car driving around the US 164 times. That's a huge perspective. Should we improve efficiency of fuel of vehicles? Yes, we should. But we've got to get this stuff out of the landfill if we're serious about reducing our carbon footprint. So what's the modern way of getting rid of our organic material? The modern way is to use a biodigester. This is a machine that is going to eat your waste food. It's not going to macerate it. It's not going to break it up physically. It's going to eat it. It's a stainless steel stomach which is going to actually just digest the waste food in the same way that our own stomach digests it. As I said, we sell to many corporations around the globe. Our biggest customer in the US is the US Army. They're buying dozens of machines from us, and they go into Fort Bragg, and then from there they go around the world. I don't have top secret clearance, so I don't know where they go. These machines are clean, they're safe, they go in the kitchen, and here's a few pictures of kitchens. This one is in a Marriott hotel. This one is a Grand Hyatt Hotel. That's a very famous chef, Chef Byron. This is one of our earlier machines, been installed in a corporate cafeteria for the past 9 years. It's right there next to where the chef is doing his work. These machines rely on being fed throughout the day. It's just like our own stomach. As you generate the waste food, you put the waste food in. People ask if these machines are safe to go where the food is being prepared. Here we see food. This is actually, you can't even easily see it here. This is chicken being prepared, and there's our machine on the right. I think that was the Nobu Hotel, actually, a Nobu restaurant. This is a restaurant, hotel in Miami. Here you see lobsters being prepared next to our machine. These machines are clean, they don't smell, and they're safe to put in the kitchen. Let's talk about aerobic versus anaerobic digestion. When we go into a forest, all the leaves from the forest, from the trees, have fallen onto the forest floor. They're being digested aerobically. They're decomposing and being digested aerobically in the presence of oxygen. When we go into the forest, it doesn't smell. If we take this food, if we take some organic waste, some food, and we put it into a plastic bag and we put it in the sun for a couple of hours, when we come back and open it up, it's going to smell. That's anaerobic digestion in the absence of oxygen, and that creates methane. That's why when we put the stuff onto a landfill and it gets buried on the landfill, it decomposes, it gets digested by microorganisms in the absence of oxygen and creates methane. That's why nobody wants a landfill in their backyard, but people would be happy to have a forest in your backyard. So inside our machine, we're using aerobic digestion, the process that is naturally occurring and doesn't smell, and it uses a special blend of microorganisms acting on the machine, acting on the waste. The machine is constantly digesting, and you constantly feed it. Just like our own stomachs, we don't sit down and eat all that we want in one sitting. This machine is not going to sit down and eat all that it needs once a day. You can feed it only once a day, but that's not the optimum way of doing it. As you generate the waste, you put the waste in. You have the breakfast prep, it goes in. You have the breakfast leftovers, it goes in. You have the lunch prep, it goes in. So the machine is constantly digesting throughout the day, and the waste is discharged purely as grey water. There's no other residue. It just goes out the drain as grey water down your sewage system. We have 7 different sizes of machine. This is the 20 kilogram machine, which we're actually re-engineering. Then we have 50 kilogram, 70 kilogram, 100 kilogram, 200 kilogram, 300 kilogram, and 500 kilogram on the bottom there. And then our 1 ton machine, which we have just released and installed in a certain facility. This one requires quite a high ceiling. This has got a bin tipper built into it. We released our 5th generation machine in about a year ago today now. Have many hundreds of these machines installed. And we're constantly improving. We're in Silicon Valley. That's what we do. We do engineering. Constantly improving the machine, adding new features to the new generations. The machine is very simple to install. It just sits in the kitchen and has a grade level drain. You just simply connect it up to water supplies, connect it up to the internet, please. I'll explain why in a minute, and AC power. The machine uses very little energy. It has a motor in there which turns only a quarter of the time, and so it's using very little energy. The machine is quite simple inside. The mechanics are fairly simple, so it's very low maintenance. Everything's stainless steel, and you can see a shaft here that's in the middle of the machine with some arms on it and a paddle on it. And this will rotate those arms. It takes about 12 seconds to do 1 rotation. Remember, we do not want to physically break down the food. We want to let the microorganisms break down the food. So the machine turns very slowly to be able to mix the microorganisms and the old waste food and the new waste food. Inside the machine, we have these power chips. These chips enable the digestion process. They are highly porous pieces of plastic, and they absorb, they have a house for the microorganisms, and they help to distribute the oxygen and the moisture. We have a proprietary blend of microorganisms, which are all naturally occurring microorganisms, and these are, when they're doing the digestion process, the process is exothermic, so they're generating their own heat and operating inside the drum at about 42 degrees. So you keep the door closed at all times to keep the input, the inside of the drum, moist and warm. No chemicals to go into it. As a general rule, this machine will eat anything that you and I can eat. But in addition, it can eat lobster shells, crab shells, egg shells. It can eat pineapple skins, orange skins, and so on and so forth. But it cannot eat any inorganic material. So it can't eat coconut shells, and it can't eat the stones of the fruit. And obviously, it can't eat the plastic bags and all that. I've never seen one of our machines without these things in it. So once a week, you need to dedicate someone to take this stuff out. That's a very simple process. The machine is weighing the amount of waste food that goes into it. So you can measure and you can control the amount of waste food that's going into it. There is a color touch screen on it, which is reporting the amount of waste food by the hour, day, week, month, and year. And that's all sent up to the cloud. So from any device anywhere in the world, you can find out how much waste is going into your machine. Here we can see on Monday we had twice as much waste as we normally do. Maybe that was when the chef was off and the sous chef took over. Or maybe that's when we had a banquet. So 5 C's, convenience. This machine is a lot easier to use than anything else that you've got means of disposing of your waste. Cost savings. We were at a resort just yesterday. His payback on buying 2 of our 500 kilogram machines was 11 months, saving on his donny costs. Compliance. The law is going to change here. You won't be able to dump your organics anymore on landfill or in alternative methods. The law is coming. Get ahead of the law. And if most of your clients knew what was happening to a lot of the waste, I think they'd be horrified. Cleanliness. There's no mess. It's in the kitchen where the waste is generated, goes in, doesn't accumulate outside. You're not carrying it outside. There's nowhere outside for it to go. And control. You've got complete control over what's happening. I'm around for the whole day if you want to talk to me. We have this other machine, which is a bin tipper if you need one of those. I'm getting flagged to stop. Come and talk to me if you need any more information. I'm the guy with the tie. There's a few people with ties, but I'm the good-looking guy. So come and talk to me if you need any more information. Thank you.